Okay, hi guys, this is Andivich. I'm just gonna talk a little bit about how I felt the 4v4 Cup went yesterday. I'm also gonna just try playing some Bloodstained meanwhile just to see how like Fraps works when I'm actually playing instead of just doing like demo reviews and stuff. But yeah, the Cup was yesterday. It went pretty well. I was playing myself. It was kind of worrying, handing over the race to someone else. So it was kind of a learning experience for me as much as anyone else. But we have had like a lot of feedback and stuff when it comes to say weapon battle, which is something that I think needs to be addressed. The whole philosophy behind the ban list for like the One Night Cup, like One Night Cup 2 say, was more of a I'm trying to ban as little as possible. I only ban weapons that would have like already been shown to have a negative impact on the game and like a large negative impact. So things like the reserve shooter and the extinguisher, they're pretty much like necessary if you're running a pyro. Like they give the pyro so much power, and it was pretty, you needed to like have a counter for that already as far in like the first cup. So that was pain to deal with. Thing is, during like this whole playtesting thing that the second cup was doing, it became evident that we needed more things like that. We needed more bans. Because we were doing our own playtests, but there is a difference between doing a playtest in a mix and doing actually a cup. In the mix, it's still just casual friends. We don't really care who wins. Whereas in the grand final of something, you are more willing to use like the cheap tactics that have been shown to work, the try hard tricks. Anyway, the probably most prominent weapon on this ban list now is going to be the Soda Popper. And that was one that I was actually worried about before the cup was played. I just didn't want to add in like a last minute ban. But the whole deal with it was you get the mini crits on a scout and you get 2 decent meat shots, which happens to be, you do 2 meat shots with the Soda Popper faster than you do 2 meat shots with the normal scatter gun. You do 140 damage at like ideal situation, and it's not that hard to get up close to like say a heavy and just do that amount of damage. So in 2 shots you do 280 damage in a ridiculously fast amount of time, and Scout should not have the ability to just go bang bang heavy dead. Really. It also made medpicks ridiculously easy to get, which is also a problem. Because actually they're having that same discussion in Highlander at the moment, where is it okay for this weapon to just let Scouts get medpicks really easily? Man, I'm bad today. So yeah, it gives Scout too much fragging power. We're going to try playing there without it. And the Criticola is in the same kind of vein, where it's, you have a Scout who hits for increased damage, and okay, he has his own sort of like drawbacks. He takes a bit more damage. He's not taking mini crits, and he is moving a bit faster. And this is one that I'm not too sure about. This is one that I feel it's going to be, if you're playing against, say, Roish's team, like the Jewish Mumble Collective, they've got like the coordination to shut down a Scout using the Criticola. Because of the increased damage, they can just mop him pretty easily. But I think for other teams, it's going to be harder. I don't think you're actually going to be able to sort of like get that focus down, especially when it's moving faster. I mean, if you combine the Soda Popper with, say, the Force of Nature, you have crazy mobility. Your run turns faster. You can do the Force of Nature jumping, and you're still doing mini crit shots that go bang bang, and that's it. I'm sure it was fine. Yeah, so that Criticola ban might change. I'm going to do some playtests like with and without it, and just see how it works. The reserve shooter and the extinguisher, they're still going to be banned. They worked it quite well. Pyro was still really useful without them. I don't know what this guy's doing. Yeah, Pyro's still really useful without those 2 weapons, and he sort of like found a better place in like the better game and stuff. So I'm completely happy with keeping Pyro the way it is. The next things on the ban list are going to be for the engineer. And first off, I think the obvious choice is to reban the Thompson. No, please. Ah. Yeah, the Thompson really needs to be rebanned. it isn't so much the Uber Drain mechanic, but it's more of the spam ability. I mean, as an engineer, this happened a few times. I think it was Soapy Digital Monsters did it. He basically just sat at the back of the map with a mini sentry out and spammed into corners. Just because he knew that when someone comes around this corner, they have to take like 40 damage or 80 damage, depending on how many the constant shots hit. Which was total pain. It didn't like contribute anything. It was just sit here, shoot around corner. Eventually, you will hit somebody because they have to walk into you, which wasn't really the sort of idea when you allowed it. I was thinking there might be sort of like interesting strats, but it hasn't happened. And it is incredibly infuriating weapon to fight against, so I think we'll just leave it out. The other one, banned for the engineer now, is going to be the gunsticker. And I know that some people are going to be sad about it, because it means the engineer isn't going to be quite as viable on King of the Hill maps anymore. But it was too strong. Every time there was like an engineer, you had to be focusing down the mini sentry first, even ahead of like their players on their team. And considering you can just sort of like constantly spew them out with minimal work involved, it was too good. I mean, the Gunslinger isn't like so overpowered that it's useful all the time. I played a fair bit of Gunslinger NG in my team in the cup, and it's surprising how easily you do get shut down. But it, you know, for what it is, you are getting way too much, considering all you've done to get this a really annoying mini sentry is to equip a melee weapon. Which, that's that. The Wrangler is going to be re-allowed, considering we are getting rid of like the annoying mini sentries. The main idea behind that ban was just get, you know, we don't want to have 300 health wrangled minis, so that's okay. The quick fix is going to remain banned, and we're also going to get rid of the Vitasaur. I don't think the Vitasaur had that much of an effect, as in it actually gave people Ubers when they wouldn't have got them before. I mean, I ran a bit of time with the Vitasaur and without it, and I didn't really notice much difference between the two. Considering Uber advantage isn't that important in 4v4 anyway. You know, you might not necessarily have a medic, but considering the sort of like action-packed nature, there's going to be a fight every 10 seconds. The Uber doesn't give you much. It gives you a better chance of like winning one fight, but it's not something that you really want to rely on.
Mission begins in 30 seconds.
But the Vitasaur, it promotes a very passive style of play. It's very boring. It's like you equip a melee weapon and you get an advantage for having a melee weapon, and then you never like use it. And considering you could have, say, the Vitasaur,
Mission begins in
not the Vitasaur, the Ubersaur. The Ubersaur is a much better, more exciting weapon. I mean, everybody wants to see sort of like clutch melee hits from the medic, and he manages to like pop Uber and run away, and that's fine. But the Vitasaur is just, you have less health, you do medic things, and you play completely normally. It's really sort of boring.
Oh no!
So that one's gonna go. I don't think anyone's particularly gonna miss it, considering you get to use the Ubersaur now. There are only two real... What's this guy doing? Only two weapon bans left, and that's gonna be Darwin's Danger Shield. That's simply because that's one that doesn't actually add anything to the game. Oh, that sniper. Yeah, the Darwin's Danger Shield doesn't add anything to the game. It's similar to the Vitasaur. You just equip it in a slot, and then you get an extra benefit, and you carry on playing the class the way you did before. I would much rather see like sniper with an SMG, or even, you know, like a Razorback, because then it's sort of like playing a little bit, you know, a little bit differently. Whereas the Darwin's Danger Shield just doesn't add anything, and it makes counter sniper less viable. Sure, you still got other methods like maybe Scout or I, but it does make other things less viable, like just running, you know, a counter sniper, which is the main kind of way of countering full-time sniper in 6, really. You just do it yourself as well. So yeah, that's one that doesn't add anything that needs to go. And the final one is going to be the red tape recorder, which before, when the Gunslinger was allowed, this weapon was okay. Sort of a more like a benefit to the spy, just because there are mini sentry engineers running about, and they're really annoying. But if you use the red tape recorder, that was so unfair. If you use the red tape recorder, you get to sort of like jam up their sentries for about 10 seconds or so. So you get to zap it, and then the mini sentry can't shoot anybody, and they don't have the option to build another one immediately afterwards. Oh my god. Which, I thought that was quite reasonable, but now that we're getting rid of the gunslinger, we're forcing engineers to go back to sort of like level 3s. The red tape recorder is so annoying if you use level 3s, and it is completely... I'm not even sure if it's overpowered anymore. No, it's got nerfed, but it is one of those weapons that is broken, it's unfun. I'd say it's about the same as the Thompson. It's not going to have like a massive effect on things, but nobody's going to be glad that the weapon is in. And people are going to be more cheerful the fact that it's gone. Anyway, that's pretty much the weapon bans. They're quite standard. There are a few, oh, and the Enforcer. I forgot about the Enforcer. Gonna reban that one, just because the Spy is now allowed to do 70 damage at close range, which, you know, it's 2 shot in Scouts, it's a bit too much. The whole idea of running the Spy is that you're stuck with sort of a weaker, non-DM class. You go for backstab and sapping and stuff. So just having the ability to do 70 damage at close range makes Gun Spy a bit too viable. I mean, the Ambassador is there and you can do 102 damage, but that's difficult to do, and it has a downside. You're weaker if you get into an actual gunfight. So the Enforcer's going in as well. That's another one that may change in the Cola, but I think it'll probably be that. Anyway, on to more interesting things, which is sort of like the format, how the actual cup went. I think, considering that I was playing and not adminning and stuff, I think it was quite successful the way that the cup was run. I mean, obviously I would have preferred to have done stuff myself, but I also need to actually play the format if I'm going to be able to balance it properly. So I think my admins did as good a job as I could expect from them. Herty ended up casting with Kip as well later on, which was quite cool. You know, well done to that guy. Oh, medic. What's going on with my mouse? I'm just going to walk like this. Yeah, so the admins did like a good job as well as they could. I don't think I warned them quite how stressful admin in the One Night Cup could be. I mean, you do have about 16 team leaders, and normally their teammates all trying to add you and find out things. So it can be pretty hectic. I think that handled it quite well. I think one thing that is quite noticeable though is that it shouldn't be a it was like a 7-hour slog, basically, because you had 2 hours for the group stages, an hour break, and then 2 hours for the semi-finals, and an hour for the finals. And it's a long time. It's a very long time. And we had a lot of people who sort of like couldn't make the late final because it started at like 11 o'clock Europe time. And basically something needs to sort of change that way. We came up with a few ideas. And the first idea would just be do it the way the round robin did it. Which, if you've never played in a round robin before, they start really early. They start at like 1 o'clock Europe time, you know, midday UK time, and they finish at like the same time that a normal official would finish. Which is an idea that got considered. The alternative was pretty much do it the way that Ready Steady Pan do it and turn it into like a little league, and then the league would last a couple of weeks and you would have 1 game a week. But I think that might be... gotta be a spy. I think that would be a little bit too serious. So I'm not too sure about doing that one. And then Tomu from Nemo Kia actually came up with quite a good idea, which is just do it as a like a weekend cup. Instead of having all of this fancy shenanigans or making it go on for several weeks, just do the group stages on one day, like say the Saturday, and then the finals on Sunday. and then it would just be sort of like 3 or 4 hours a day. It's not a big, massive deal to sort of do. It also makes admin in the tournament a lot easier. It means that I'll be able to play, and then say if it was like an hour per game in the group stages, I'd be able to play my game and then find out all the match results, and then get that updated on like the website and get like league tables up and stuff. And it's going to be tons easier. You guys won't need like quite as many mercs. We'd probably have to boost the roster size. We'll probably boost that to 8. I know it's a bit ridiculous for a 4v4 cup. Where the fuck has everyone gone? Okay. Yeah, so I think the next cup is going to be a weekend cup. It won't be for quite a while. It'll probably be towards the end of October. I don't really want to have to like saturate people with it and make it to the point there's always one of these cups going on and people start getting fed up with it. I don't want that to happen. So it'll be more towards the end of October. I think another problem that happened though was problems with the servers and scheduling. And basically how I've always tried to do it is there's a group of 4 people. There's going to be 2 games going on at any given time. So I take 2 servers, and those two games in the group happen on those 2 servers. And you know, it doesn't particularly matter if the teams end up playing on their own servers most of the time. It's just your group A, these are the 2 servers used for group A, play on these servers. That's what I was going for. But the problem is that you need to generally be quite cooperative with their servers in order for you to do that. You need people to be sort of like willing to let other games happen on them and actually set up the configs. And some people sort of like forgot about configs, some people just didn't want that to happen. So it was a bit of a pain to go down that road. And then it's also worse when it creates more like admin troubles when you've got a team who are quite new to the game and you have to tell them to like connect to some guy's server which isn't theirs, and then they have to like do some config stuff that they don't really know about, and it's more trouble than it's more trouble than it's worth sometimes. So what I think a new rule is going to be for this one, still not too certain on it, but what I'm thinking of is make it so you need to have a server to compete at all. I think that's going to become better. It might be a bit limiting to some of like say the newer teams, or some like the American teams are going to need to do the UK server anymore. But you don't need to like particularly own a server. It's just more of you need to have a server that you can play on, and that you can be responsible for, and you can get the config set up. How the scheduling will probably go after that is that I don't have to spend ages actually sort of like writing up people's server IPs and working things out like that. Just make it more of a thing of sort of Team A are playing against Team B. Team A, the home team, they're responsible for finding the server for this game. And that's going to get things scheduled faster, it's going to get admins going faster. It should just generally make life easier. The big problem with that is going to be the American teams. But then again, we only actually had 2 American teams in the last cup, and one of them just didn't show up. Which makes me sort of sad, actually. They didn't tell me or anything like that. But yeah, what would ideally be good for like the American teams is if they if someone over in America is interested in actually sort of setting up a 4v4 cup themselves, because in the first 2 they've had to sort of like put up with Graphic Kings and going on EU servers, and you know, it's early hours in the morning for them. And if somebody would be interested in setting up a 4v4 cup, you know, American times American servers, I'd be happy to sort of like see what I can do to help. Are you a spy? I've got to be a spy. Yeah, I'd be happy to sort of see what I can do to help. Not too sure what I could do, but if you needed like, I don't know, any advice on scheduling or stuff, I'd be more than happy to help. On to the last thing is, I mentioned earlier that one of the American teams dropped, and quite a few teams had to sort of like drop out. And some of them are like completely understandable. Teams like Pipe Dreams had to drop out, and Monkey Mix had to drop out because they weren't expecting the cup to go on for so long, and they had like other commitments. So I think Pipe Dreams are like an ETF well official that they need to go to. And I think Monkey Mix had like the same sort of thing. Some of their players are 6 officials, which is completely fair. Really. I mean, that's completely understandable. So I think the system of having it go over a weekend in small tantrums is going to make it easier. But I'm also considering maybe some sort of like buy-in or something. Because as well as those, there are a couple of teams who just sort of like signed up and then never showed up and never said anything about it. So I'm not going to go into like naming and shaming, but there were like more teams that did that than I was really happy with. So I'm considering maybe having like a sort of buy-in, just like metal, nothing like actual money or like a hat or something. And then the winner of the tournament gets that metal or gets that hat. I'm considering what is it with these servers and finding bots? I'm considering getting somebody to try and like maybe sponsor it. That'd be quite cool. But I think we might go down the sort of like, you know, give a refine for a player or something like that. Which is probably what I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna ban this server, I think. Also gonna give a massive shout out to anybody who was helping like cover stuff yesterday. So Phoenix TV, Phoenix Esports, they did the group stages, and I think it was Heavy's GPS and Nexus who casted that, which is thanks go out to those guys. The stream was quite good. I think it got like 30 viewers or something for the group stages, which I was really happy about. And there are some VODs up on YouTube, which I'll link to on the website. And as well as that, Kip casted as well. And Kip casted like the finals, which I think she casted the grand final, which was just Dicensis team versus I Don't Want to Be Jewish Anymore, and a semi-final, which was Justice Sensei versus Frothy Mix. And she did that alongside Hurty, who was in the group stages, and 21 Bearded Wonder as well. So shout out goes to those guys. I'm really happy about that. And shout out to Hurty and MacGov as well, who did a good job doing admin stuff. And yeah, I think that's pretty much all that I needed to mention. I'll probably write all this up in sort of like a blog post as well, just in case you're not into like watching YouTube videos or kind of crap like that. But yeah, I think we'll just go along with that, see how things go. Alright, thanks for watching, cheers, bye.